Good morning, guys. Welcome in. How are you all doing? Happy Friday. It feels like a Friday. I'm excited for this Friday. Welcome in. Welcome, guys. Welcome in. It is a beautiful, cold Friday in New York. It's probably cold where you guys are too, or colder than it usually is, right? Big storm coming in Saturday. Big storm coming in Saturday. I think it's coming in Saturday morning for most of us, right? Let me see. I think it's coming in. It gets cold tonight. And the storm starts. So, wow, it's going to be in the negatives tomorrow for me. Real feel. Crazy. Crazy, crazy. Nope, in Florida, 80 degrees. Well, I don't want to hear that. I do not want to hear that. But I'm glad that it is nice there for you. 16 Houston's not bad. That's not bad. Okay, so guys, let's go to our charts, right? No tomfoolery, right? Let's just dive right into it. We have a lot to go over this morning. SPY is consolidating. SPY is in a consolidation. That's the title of today's live stream, right? The market is in consolidation, and we're going to talk about that today. All right, so some things happening in the market, some consolidations. Yesterday's session was a pure technical day. I mean, go back to the recording of yesterday's session and listen to what we spoke about. Everything we spoke about came into fruition, right? Basically, market pulled back into demand yesterday. All you had to do is trust your levels, right? All you had to do yesterday was say, you know what, I trust the levels. Market gapped up, right, into a gap up. We pulled back. We found support at our demand zone. You could have longed it here. I went long here. I went long yesterday with you guys in the chat. We longed right over there. And then it just pushed right into highs. 691 rejections came in. This was the high. Remember we said this is the gap fill rejection. The gap fill rejection level turning into resistance. 691 resistance, downside move. I think that if the price action remains like yesterday was and how the price action was on Wednesday and Tuesday, we'll have a really nice 2026. You can't always say this though, right? You can't say that the price action is going to remain this beautiful. And it's very important that we understand that, right? We understand that we are grateful for what has been given to us, but we understand it may not always be as simple as this, right? No whim whams yesterday, just beautiful pull back to demand, upside move, back to resistance, downside move. Wow. I mean, just what a nice day. The shorts won, the longs won. It was a nice, beautiful session. Now, today's session, what's going to happen? We're going to talk about the levels today. Where are the levels today? Well, the levels are pretty simple, okay? We are going to go into it today's session. We'll talk about where the market levels are going into our beautiful Friday morning, okay? So that's on the docket for today. Obviously, we'll talk about this. We'll go over our equities. We'll talk about the AMD. What's going on here at AMD? AMD just juicing in the pre-market session. I mean, obviously a juicer here pre-market. Let's talk about AMD today. We'll go over NVIDIA as well, the NVDA chart. NVIDIA also showing strength. NVIDIA yesterday's session was all about 186. What did we say? We said don't long back into 186. So what did I do with that information? I shorted it, right? I shorted it around 186. I shorted it here at 185.50, downside move. Made a little bit of beans yesterday in NVIDIA. Didn't really give me much continuation, but still, again, nice chart yesterday. Now today's session, where are we? Oh, we are back above 186, right? So we know today we are bullish above 186. We'll talk about this today and where the setups are going into our beautiful Friday morning, okay? We'll go over the Meta chart. We'll go over Meta. I don't know why we're going over Meta, but we'll do it. We'll talk about it. We'll go over a little Intel action, INTC selling here pre-market. We'll go over Amazon as well. We'll have a nice review of all of these equities. Okay, so let's dive into our charts for a second, guys. What I want to do though is I want to pull this over here. Let me see if I can get the market watch open as well. Give me 1 second. Let me open the market watch. Market watch econ calendar. I want this open as well because what we'll do is we'll talk about next week session. Okay, so Sir Jay Garrison, 6-monther, you are much appreciated. That is very kind of you. Meta has to be probably the most consistent person who donates every single morning. And again, those donations go back to you guys. So Meta, you are an absolute gem. You are very kind for that. You are awesome. I hope that is coming out of some nice profits yesterday. That is super kind of you. Also, thank you to Mr. Garrison, man. You are always, you are, I think, one of the first few people to actually sign up for that, for the YouTube Live. I'm going to do something with it this year. I will. I'm going to do something with it. Right now, you just have a cool badge. I promise you I'll do something with it this year as I grow the YouTube. I'm focused on a really big project, guys. I'll be honest with you. The reason why I've been so like off social media recently is because I'm focusing on a really big project that I'm putting everything into. You're going to see why. You're going to see in a little bit. Hopefully by Monday, I'm going to release it to more people. But I have a really big announcement to make on Monday. Hopefully on Monday. If not, it'll be Tuesday. But it's been many months into this. And I'll explain what it is. Okay, so first of all, before we do that, I want to talk about our econ data earnings reports. So on the econ side, you can see today's session, PMI 945, consumer sentiment 10 o'clock, right? Bam, bam, done. Okay, so just data 945, data 10 o'clock, that's all we have. On the earnings docket, yesterday's session, Intel, INTC, I mean, exactly what we thought was going to happen, happened. You have this, it's a very constant thing. You have people who get so excited about the earnings, and it's those earnings that are the ones that typically are the ones that fade. Intel faded pre-market. Now, the actual report wasn't bad. It just didn't hold up, right? It didn't hold up to justify the tripling, the quadrupling of the stock over the last 3 months. So a little bit of downside action here pre-market, but nothing considerable, right? A little 10% downside move. Again, 10% on Intel is not much. So let's be aware of that, right? Yes, it's downside, but it's not that much. That is surprisingly not impacting the semis though, right? You'd expect a little bit of impact on the semis, but it's not impacting the semis. In fact, NVIDIA is gapping up pre-market. AMD is gapping up pre-market. So interesting to see that. Capital One yesterday's session as well. Today we have some banks reporting. Next week we have big earnings. Next week is an earnings week. Get ready for it, right? Do what you got to do. Drop your kids off at school. Tell them, listen, don't talk to me, right? I got to deal with some stuff. Earnings next week is important. It's going to be really, it's the key, right? It's the key to next week. But in terms of our market watch calendar, you can see that next week also we have some data to talk about. And the data is ruthless, right? Starting on Monday, we have some durable good stuff, nonsense. Tuesday, nonsense. Wednesday, Jerome Powell, right? Jerome Powell is on the docket for the first time this year, and he's going to talk about his interest rate decision, right? So obviously some big things happening next week, Wednesday, the 28th of January. It's going to be an exciting week, and I'm excited because this is the first crazy volatility session of the year. Get ready for it, okay? Thursday, big data. Friday, big data, and that ends the week. So we have some stuff happening into our pre-market session, right? So, okay, let's go into the SPY chart. So on the SPY chart, what's going on here? Basically, you can see here on the 15-minute chart, yesterday's session, what happened? Well, the market did what? Well, what did we speak about yesterday on Thursday? DB the Esquire, the ESQ. Thank you very much. Tell the kids don't talk to me. I like that. That's very good. Thank you, man. Much appreciated. Very kind of you. But today here on the that's funny on the SPY chart, yesterday's session was pretty textbook. Okay, a big gap up following. Remember we said this, right? We said 2% gap down, 2% gap up, right? Back to the point in the market where we were prior to the Greenland craziness, prior to the tariff craziness. We basically reversed the whole move. And the one level that I believe was really important was the gap fill level, right? It was 691. This is the gap fill level. And we knew that 691 was your major resistance level. Why? Because this was the level we had right before the big data, right? And the market, I feel like a lot of technical analysts, what they'll do is they'll talk about these little trend lines and the thises and the that's and the fibs and stuff. And granted, I do that as well. But sometimes the most simple levels are the ones like this. You had data come out, market reacted to the data, market reversed the data. So very likely we go back to the level that we had prior to the data. It's just a very simple. This is why I talk about the data, because if you are aware of it, you understand what happened, right? The context behind the level. The context behind the level, I think, is something that is very overlooked. For example, an FOMC high, right? An FOMC session high and FOMC session low is very important because you have a lot of volume traded there. Look at the volume traded here at this level here. Very high volume level on a gap down. That's why we saw such a big reaction yesterday at 691. 691 was an important level. Now you can see not only was 691 important, but it was also demand below that was equally important, right? It was equal important back to the demand below. You can see the 687 demand below. This is where we went long yesterday. I think Mike was trying to short. I think Mike shorted somewhere over here at the highs, and then I longed over here at demand, right? And this was nice. It was actually a great session, right? You shorted supply, you long demand, and we moved back into supply again. There was another supply rejection there. I didn't short there, but you could have, and you could have saw an equal downside move. Now today's session on the SPY chart, the biggest thing to talk about is the consolidation, right? The title of the live stream today is the consolidation, and the consolidation has two set of levels. The consolidation is two sets of levels. Or one set of levels, really, the highs and the lows. The highs being 691, which is still your most important level today. You can see very important level. In fact, we'll make this a yellow solid line today because we know how important it is now. And if we can break above 691 today, you know that this is going to be a beautiful upside day. If 691 clears, we're going to see a trend day upside. If we break below, in my opinion, if we break below the 686 to 685 demand, in my opinion, we get more downside and we see a beautiful trend down day. Now, here's the problem. I'll tell you what the problem is. The problem right now is the 691 level is super clear. If this clears, we have upside momentum in the market back into 695. It's very clear. I could see that. If we stay in this channel, we do this today, right? Long the highs, long the lows, short the highs. Long the lows, short the highs, right? This is a probable scenario as well. We just stay in channel again for Friday. If we break down beneath this demand here, right, then we see downside move back into lows. The issue, however, here's the issue. This is what people are not talking about, is if you break below 686, yes, there's downside, but back down and into the Tuesday's highs, which is 685. So the question is, where can you reasonably short today? Well, if you short under 687, then you have room back into 686. If you short under 686, you have room back down into 685. When 685 breaks, this is where the real free flow happens. So what am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say that it is a sweaty short to short prior to 685 breaking. Could you do it? What's going on here? Could you do it? Yes, you could do it, right? But just understand that you have lots of landmines you can step on, right? You're short, you're short, you're short, you're short. Nice little breakdown of yesterday's lows, right? You're looking for a break from just yesterday's lows, downside move, landmine, right? You have landmines all the way down to 685. In my opinion, the breakdown under 685 would give us the consistent free flow downside move you need for the market to sell off, right? That's what I say. But I will argue this. You could short before 685 breaking, right? You could do that. But again, you must be an absolute surgeon today, right? You got to be, gloved up, hat on, ready to go, mask up, right? You need to be a surgeon under 687 because I could see it. You can see I technically like the 687 short today as well under the consolidation. But I know that there is demand here and there's demand here. If I want the real free flow move where I can just mindlessly short, then this is that free flow downside trade, right? So I want you to be understanding of the fact that there is demand below and it's a zone, it's a range, right? That's why we don't like ranges. So let's go over our next ticker, guys. Let's go over the ES chart. ES chart, obviously same thing here, right? But you can see here, you can see level here at 69.25. This is where I went long yesterday in the ES chart. I went long primarily on the SPY chart because I saw ES doing what? ES was building a base at support. The same level we discussed yesterday's session, 69.25. Rio 8606. Thank you very much. Rio 8606. That is very kind of you. Are you from Rio, or is your name Rio? That's a very important question. Is your name Rio or are you from Rio? That's a good question. Let me know. So 69.25 is your level on the ES chart. If you break below 69.25, then we see a downside move back into the 68.50s. You're from Atlanta. Okay, so you're from Atlanta. Okay, nice. So under 69.25, you break down, you see the movement is 68.50. Okay, so that's your big level today. Can we break down beneath yesterday's lows? If we do, downside. But here's the problem again, right? The problem again is I can't just say, under 69.25, we see 68.50. Because as much as I want to say that, there are landmines to contend with. And the first landmine is, again, that Tuesday's highs. You see what I'm talking about? 69.02 flat, right? You know that if we break beneath the 69.25, there is a demand right here at 69, at basically 6900, right? And so you know this, that if you were going to be short today, you probably want to be either a short under these lows over here, or if you are shorting, you're shorting under yesterday's lows, but you are surgically trading this for a downside move back in the lows. I'm not saying you can't do this. You can totally do this. But what you want to do is you want to be a surgeon today. If we see us maintain yesterday's lows, if you see us do this today, then there is no reason to short. The market's going to do this, right? You know that, right? These are your levels. Do not short back into yesterday's lows. It's a very simple phenomenon, right? In fact, you should never be shorting back into previous day lows. So that's your big demand to watch out for. 69.24, under this level, back into here, under this level, back into there. If we start holding demand here, we're going there. If you break resistance, we go into here. That's what we have today's session here on the ES chart. Okay, moving on, guys. Qs, we got to go fast because we're actually not doing well in time today. On the Qs, you can see here on the QQQ, not a very clean chart, right? I had a level that was at 620. I said, guys, watch 620 on Qs. If you did that yesterday, I will tell you when I am very right. I'll tell you when I'm very wrong. Was QQQ a clean day if you were a Qs trader off the levels you discussed? No, it was not, right? You can see yesterday we tried to defend 620 off the open. You can see here a little bit of defense here. Some defense came in, some defense came in. Probably about $1 move here off the level, $1.50 move off 620 for an upside move. But then we failed back below a break, retest downside, back above, right? Back below. It was a pretty choppy day with whim whams in both directions. So not a clean day here on Qs. Today's session, where are we going? On the 15-minute chart, it's actually the same thing today, guys, on the Qs. If we break beneath yesterday's lows, which is 618, right over here. If you break beneath 618 here in the Qs, you have downside at 615, right? You have downside in a 615 today here in Qs under 618. If you clear above the 622.50s, which is yesterday's highs, 622.50 flat, right? If you clear above that level, then you have upside momentum back in highs. So where I would plan to trade Qs today would be either above the channel high or below the channel low. This is the consolidation, right? We see it. We're sandwiched in between consolidation. Do we break beneath our demand zone? If then, downside. Or do we break above supply? If then, upside, right? That's what I would be expecting today's session going into our QQQ chart, okay? Let's move on, guys. Let's go over some other equities. Let's talk about no, not equity. Let's go over IWM first. IWM, right? So the IWM yesterday was all about that 267. And you can see 267 broke out, right? Not only did it break out, it tapped it first as resistance, Wednesday session. It broke out, it retested it, and right into market close, it ripped. What am I saying? This is Wednesday's price action. This is Thursday. So Thursday's price action. So nothing happened Thursday, right? Thursday session was pretty lackluster on the IWM. The level I would still be watching though is still demand below, right? So 267 is still your demand below. If we can pull back there, that's your long spot today, right? Again, don't front run this, but if you do see us develop a hold here, i.e. you see us develop some sort of pin bars here in the 5-minute, there could be a long entry there, okay? If you fail below 267, then there is a quick and easy downside move back into 261. That's your level today. It's really all about the 267 today here on the IWM. If we're above it, bullish. If we're below it, bearish. The first tap of it, in my opinion, looks like a long. Okay, so let's see what happens today here on this chart. Again, don't front run the IWM. The IWM is great on trend moves. So you want to be a little bit cautious here. Right? I'm saying this with take this with some grains of salt, right? Obviously, right? Do not go long straight at 267 and then Tom, Dick, and Harry, you're going to come back Monday morning and then you'll be a little pissed, right? Look for an actual development of hold here. If it actually can hold here on the 5-minute chart, if it starts developing a nice maintenance there, then go long with a stop below, upside move, right? You don't want to be long on this chart as it's flat selling like this on these crazy red body candles. You want to be long as it begins developing that hold for an upside move. If it does hold, that's your long spot. If it fails, you know where it's going. Back into 261, back into the lows of Wednesday's session. Dwayne, wow, that is awesome. Dwayne and Griffey Bear, that is really cool. That is really cool. and Sergey, wow, Garrison, wow, insane. 10 gifted subs. That's awesome, man. That is seriously very kind of you. Wow. 10 gifted subs from Sir J. Garrison. That is very kind of you. Thank you for supporting, man. You are an absolute gentleman. Also, Dwayne, yes, we'll go over APP. In fact, we'll do that towards the end of the stream. Okay. So let's move into our equities now, guys. Let's talk about the first equity. Let's talk about NVIDIA. We have a lot to go over, guys. NVIDIA. So on the NVIDIA chart, it's all about 186 today, right? I have a lot of levels here, but let's make it clear. The level that matters today more than anything is 186. If we are above 186, this is, in my opinion, an upside breakout, right? You can see 186, 186, 186 turns into a hold here. We're going into highs, 190, right? That's what it is. If we hold 186, this is a long. If you lose 186 at open, it's a short. So my level today is all based upon how we respond to 186. Above it bullish, below it bearish. Very simple approach here on the NVIDIA's chart. If we break 186 and hold it, we're going into 190. Right now, we're holding it. So let's see what happens here. This to me is mostly bull-sided, okay? On the AMD chart, AMD is gapping up. AMD is showing a lot of strength here pre-market. It is developing a big hold here. And the question becomes, what can we do now? Well, what can we do now in this one? You can see, obviously, right, NVIDIA stock gains, but I just got chip boost. There's a lot going on here on the chip side of things. I think if you are a long trader today, you're probably watching chips because chips are the hottest sector of the market, okay? So we need to be seeing what chips do. That's a lot of what I was doing yesterday with SPY too, is I was watching how NVIDIA was trading. And once I saw NVIDIA was maintaining a hold, I went long SPY, right? And so today on AMD and NVIDIA, these chips are all heating up, right? So if these chips begin to fail, you know SPY is going to sell. So we need to be watching SPY. We need to be watching NVIDIA and AMD as a proxy to the market, right? The strongest names in the market should be watched if you were trading an ETF, right? Or even in futures, right? It's the same thing. So watch and see what AMD does today. If AMD begins to fail, well, you know that there is probably short setting up today in the market. But let's see what happens today in AMD. Your level to watch out for is 255. That is your highs of yesterday's session, right? That is the highs of yesterday's session, 255. 256 really is your high. So this is your level to watch out for. If you can see us maintain that today, that's your long side move, right? That's your long base entry. If you see us fail below 256, you're going lower in a 240, right? That's all I have today here in AMD. One simple level. Are we above it? Yeah, we're bullish. Are we below it? Yeah, we're bearish, right? Would I short AMD here? No. Would I short AMD below 256? Yeah, I would, right? I would look for the failure under our Wednesday's highs, under our Thursday's highs for a downside move, right? This would be a nice downside trade today if we do get that. Otherwise, though, I wouldn't short it because this, again, right now is the strongest chart in a relatively consolidated market, in which case a 256 hold would be likely as well. So let's see what happens today, but everything that happens is guided by 256. Above bull, below bear. Intel sold off. I mean, we spoke about this yesterday. I hope some of you guys were able to get some profit off in this one. Nothing really to trade here on the intraday, right? On the intraday, you can see, really, I have no interest here on the intraday, right? The longer term picture is I want 44. If you are looking for even an intraday or longer term entry, 44 is your spot. I wouldn't even say longer term entry, right? Let me just be careful with my words here, right? 44 would be a short-term entry, right? Shorter term, I'm talking 2 week, 3 week, 4 week out. That could be an entry there. But as of right now, that's where I would expect us to go back to. 44 would be a reasonable approach. If we reclaim 50, if we somehow reclaim 50, this is going to rip, right? So this is your long entry, either here or there, right? Those are your long entries today here on INTC. And again, you could trade it. Intel is post earnings, meaning it will move a lot today. So let's see what happens today at INTC, above the 50s or a pullback long at 44 for a demand bounce, okay? If you are a fib trader, I'm actually curious about this for a second because this will help me. If you are a fib trader, yeah, I mean, it's not perfect, guys. It's not perfect, but 44 would be an area I'm watching still, okay? Let's move on, guys. Let's go over some other things. Let's talk about Meta. So Meta Shmeta. I mean, I would say this. I spoke about Meta going back in this 580 for a long time, and it basically did that. It was a bit early, so I can't toot my horn here, but it moved into like 600 flat, and now it's back above 641. I mean, look, I think if you're trading Meta, you gotta have something wrong with you, right? I'm gonna attack Raf for a second. You gotta have something. You gotta have something wrong, because this is a chart where you got to be an absolute animal to trade this chart. I mean, just not very pretty price action, in my opinion. I mean, look at the chart. It held 622, right? It ripped up higher. I mean, where's the entry? I don't really see an entry. I mean, maybe here, right? 640 is your entry point. 640 was your entry point. If you want to get crazy with it, you want to get a little spicy, watch 640, right? That's it. I'll watch 640s today. If you, so I'm a faithful meta trader. You gotta have some. You gotta have like the 6 cents to trade this chart. It's a crazy chart. But if it works, it works. Trade it, right? 640 is your demand today. That's my big demand to watch out for. 640, major demand. If it holds 640, look for longs there, right? Be careful of longing back in at 655. You know that's where your resistance is, right? Resistance above, right? And then demand back below here at 640, okay? A lot of you guys trade meta. That's awesome. So Amazon chart. So on the Amazon chart, you can see here a gap to play with still. Yes, it hasn't done much. We've been talking about this for a while. It needs to break above yesterday's highs. If this can break above yesterday's highs, you have the gap to play with. The gap fill is above 236 at this point, 235.70. If we can clear that level, we have upside back at 239. Does it actually do it? I don't know, but this is actually on my watch today, is that the gap fill play. If it can break above these highs, I'm looking for the gap to fill. Okay, that's all I have today on this on the Amazon chart. You guys know what I'm talking about here. That's what it is. Okay, let's go over Apple, the Appler. Apple actually looked really good yesterday for upside, but it didn't break it. And there was some news that came out intraday yesterday about about Tim Cook. Tim Cook is not stepping down immediately, right? It's gonna be a slow process. And it looks like the market didn't like that. I think the market was looking for the new CEO to take over faster, I believe. And not much of a reaction here, but a little bit of a volume to downside came in after that. It actually looked pretty good today. This was going to be my top. This was going to be my top watch today for longs. But today, it's hard for me to say that with conviction, given the way it looks pre-market. But if for whatever reason this does happen, if we do clear back above the highs of Wednesday session, I believe this is a nice long, right? So I will stay convicted in that idea. If we can break above 251, I'm looking for 251.50. I'll look for longs, right? This is my big level. If we can break above the supply zone, I'm looking for longs on Apple. But as of right now, it's not doing that. In fact, it's doing the opposite. So let's hold off on this one. Maybe next week this will become a one trade. Okay. So let's move on, guys. Let's go over a few more tickers. Let's go over Tesla. Tesla's chart back at the 450s, right? So I mean, 439 broke yesterday. This actually was nice. It ripped and rallied higher. Again, you gotta have something a little wrong with you when you trade Tesla, because Tesla is also a crazy one, right? It's a crazy one. There's a lot of volatility once it gets going, and you can see once the 438 broke yesterday, it actually broke. It got going, right? It got going. Now today's session, where's the big level? The blue line. The blue line is the big level. We know this is the major level on Tesla. 450 is a macro level. If 450 clears on Tesla, this is a macro breakout, right? We know this is a macro breakout. Go to the 4-hour chart here for a second. Take a gander here, right? You know how important this level is. You can see historically how many times we've seen reactions at the 450. You know it's very important for us to build back above it. If we can build back above this level, I believe this goes into 500, right? That's where I think it goes to. I think it does. Does it happen one day? Probably not. But I argue that this will happen over a series of a few days, right? 450 breaks with conviction, maintains above it. If it actually clears 450, it's going to 466 and then 500. And I do believe it goes into 500, right? That's where I think it long-term goes to. Let's see what happens today in Tesla. It's Friday. It's going to be an interesting session today, especially on Friday with Tesla heating up. But you don't want to be long here though either, right? You don't want to be long until 450 breaks, because if you look at this chart right now, look historically what's happened the past few days. The past few times we've touched this 460, we've tapped it. You can see not much continuation, right? But if we can actually break above this consolidation and start showing high volume breaks here, this will go and this will rip, right? You know that once Meta goes in trend, it typically does not stop, right? It typically is relentless. That's why you have to be a little crazy when trading Tesla. Same idea with Meta, right? Meta, same idea. Once Meta gets in trend, it rips and rallies, right? Don't go against the grain here in Tesla. Stay with the trend. If Tesla clears 450, I think you get some nice momentum here, right? Let's see what happens though today on this chart. Moving on. Is there oh, there's earnings next week. Oof. There's earnings next week. That completely changes things, guys. That completely changes things. This may not be as nice as I think then, right? Everything I just said the last 45 seconds, delete it, right? Delete that, cut it, right? Cut it, throw it out the window. Earnings Wednesday, right? That changes things. Typically, prior to earnings, things become a bit choppier. Now, granted, forward break is still technically a long, but I don't know if it's going to be as sexy as I'm saying, right? I don't think it's going to be as beautiful, free flowing as I'm saying. Let's see what happens today in Tesla. Again, I would still maintain the bullish thesis though, above four. It doesn't change. The earnings doesn't fundamentally change the chart being bullish, right? It's still a bull chart, but does the earnings make the trending move not as trending? Possibly, right? Again, above 450 is still a long move, okay? Moving on, guys. Let's go over a few more tickers. By the way, I am 40 subs away from 17K subs. 40 of you guys need to sub to me. 40, right? Sub to the YouTube. I'm here every single morning, and I'm giving my levels. It's a great time, but the one thing I ask for is 17K subs. And then once I get to 17K, I'll start asking for 20K. Okay, let's go over one last ticker. One last one. Let's go over APP. Let's go over APP. He wanted APP, right? Let me see. It was APP. I believe it was APP that Dwayne wanted. Let's go over this last ticker. Okay, so I assume this is a longer term idea here. I had a level at 520. I had 524. I don't know why. Let's jump into it. Why do I have a level there? Oh, because there is a huge level here, right? You can see APP, very big level, AppLovin, 524, 525. This is your big inflection point here on APP, right? There is a lot of range here in this chart, though. I'll be honest. There's a lot of range here on this APP chart. APP chart. This is your demand, though, right? You can see 517 to 515 is your big demand. If we can develop a hold here, you know where to go long, right? This is your long spot today here on APP. Does it develop a hold? Let's see what happens. Again, if we fail below this level, though, in my opinion, this does not develop a hold until around 390, right? 390 is your next big demand to watch out for. So again, this is a big test here on APP, and I can see why you're watching it. Does it actually hold here? To be honest with you, pre-market, it does not look good. But if it can reclaim the 524s, 525s, this could be a long entry, right? Maybe just a long-term idea here, maybe a little swing trade, not something in the short term though, okay? Guys, thank you all for joining in. I will see you guys all for live trading. Have a happy and safe trading session. Look, it's Friday. If you had a nice week so far, take it easy. Don't go crazy. Enjoy your week. Wow, Mr. Garrison, that is awesome. Mr. Sir Garrison is going crazy today. Thank you very much. That is awesome. 20 gifted to you guys. I am going to do something with it. Now I have to do something. So I will make sure to do that. Mr. Garrison, Sir J. Garrison, you are an absolute gentleman. Thank you very much. Shoot me a message on IG, Garrison, and I'm going to hook you up with something as well. Thank you, guys. See you later.